What's up YouTube, this is Dennis Panuta for tutorialsEU. In this video you are going to learn everything that you need to know about dialogs. And I'm not talking about people talking to each other. What I mean is dialogs in your Android application. So custom dialogs, progress dialogs, alert dialogs. So all the stuff that appears like a little pop-up on the screen that you will need for many of your applications in the future. So if you want to become a real developer, you will need to know these kind of things in the long term. So definitely check out the whole video to learn all the three parts. So this is taken from my complete Android masterclass course, which is a hell of a course. You can find the link in the description and you will learn to build those really step by step. I'm going to give you exact instructions and you can also follow along the guide. It's a text guide, so just check out our blog. You can also find the link in the description down below. Now at this point, please leave a like because this really helps out this channel, and also don't forget to hit that subscribe button because this is really going to help out you, because we are going to publish a lot more really good stuff, not just for Android but also for other topics on this channel. I hope you'll enjoy this video. Let's get started. Welcome back. In this video we are going to look at dialogs, and dialogs are going to be required for further projects that we're going to build, and we're going to use them every now and then, and that's why it makes sense to have a deeper look at them, because we're also going to require them for this project that we're currently working on. So let's get right into it. So what I have here is a project, and I'm not going to build everything here in this video. I'm just going to show you the different types of dialogues that there are and how you can build them in code. And yeah, let's just get started. So first of all, we have this little image button, and once I click on it, you see I get this text here at the bottom. So this text is not, as we have seen before, a toast, but this is a snack bar. So I can click multiple times on it, and as you can see, it's constantly replacing the old one. So it's getting rid of the old snack bar and then it's adding the new one, and also you can swipe it away. So here again, swipe it away. Okay, so this is a snack bar. How does a snack bar differ from a toast? You might wonder. All right, let's look at it. A toast was available right from the start. Snack bars were only added in the API level 23. The activity is not required to be shown in Android when you want to run a toast. So what can happen is you run a toast, the activity is closed, and the toast still persists. All right. In snack bars, that's not the case. So the snack bar will only be visible in the activity of the application. It can't be, or the host can't perform an action based on user input. In the snack bar, you can set something up. So if the user clicks on the snack bar, then you can run some additional code. The toast cannot be dismissed by swiping. Well, the snack bar can. And the toast cannot handle user input like a swipe, etc. Snack bar can. And the toast is good for showing info messages to user, and the snack bar is good for showing warning info type messages to user that need attention. So you can learn more about it here on this Stack Overflow post. You can just Google Android snack bar versus toast. You can find some more information about it here. All right, now let's get back to our code. We have some other dialog types that are interesting. Even though the snack bar is not really a dialog type, some sort of output that is visible to the user. Quick pause. So you're learning something about Android in this video, and I hope you enjoy it. If you want to learn everything that you need to know to become a real Android developer, then definitely check out my Android masterclass, because in this course you're going to build a bunch of great applications along your journey to becoming an Android developer. First, you're going to learn the Kotlin basics. Then you're going to learn to build one app after another. And while you do that, you get a bunch of demos which will really dig deep into the concepts, as well as presentations which will help you to understand what you're learning. So don't miss out and get the course right now. You can find the link in the description below. All right, now let's look at how we can create such a snack bar. Well, we have this image button set on click snack bar. So here, very simple, one line of code to create a snack bar. Snackbar.make, and then you have to pass in the view. You have to write a little text that you want to display, then the length of the snack bar, and then .show. So very similar to what we have seen when it comes to toasts. All right, now let's look at the next one. We have alert dialogs here. So let's click on one and you can see alert, then there's a little icon. This is alert dialog, which is used to show alerts on your app. And you can cancel, say no or yes. Okay, now how do we create such an alert? Well, first of all, let's click on the cancel. You can see click cancel, operation cancel. Once again, the alert dialog. Let's click on no. Okay, and then let's see what happens when we click yes. So you can see each of them has a different type of message that will be sent. So you can, of course, create different code that will be executed depending on which button was pressed by the user. So let's look at this alert dialog. How do we create it? Well, I have this button alert dialog with an on click listener, and then I call this function alert dialog function. This is a function that I created myself here. You can see private fun alert dialog. So what you need to do here is you first of all create a builder. So this builder class is there for convenient dialog construction. So it really helps us to create such a dialog. Then this builder is of type alert dialog.builder, and you need to pass in the context, which is this, because we want to show this dialog in the main activity class or in the main activity itself. Then you set the title of the builder. So in our case, I called it alert. Then you have the builder message that you want to display. This is the alert dialog, which is used to show alerts in our app. Currently, we're using this IC dialog alert. So you probably have seen this as we used it in the app. Let's open it up again. So this is this icon here, and I'm setting an icon. And you can, of course, use other icons here as well. So for example, you can have input add, which will then be a different icon. It will be this plus sign here. Okay, so you can play around with this and then use the icon that you like. So you can see you can adjust that as you want. And then you can see that the builder class has the method for a positive button, where you need to create a text that you want to display on the button. And then in brackets there you have to, well, in our case, use an expression, which is a lambda expression. So we're saying, okay, dialog interface and which are the parameters that are passed in. And then we just want to execute a toast, which just says clicked yes. And also the dialog interface is what we dismiss. So this is the parameter that we passed. And you can see which is not used, but you cannot get rid of it. It's expecting it. So what we are just saying is, okay, just dismiss the dialog, get rid of it. That's what we're doing with this dismiss button. So once we click on this positive button, the dialog interface dismiss will be executed, and this will also be executed. So the toast will be executed. So here you can pretty much add the code that you want to execute once somebody presses yes. And then we have a neutral button, which is the cancel button, how I called it. There again, you have the lambda expression in here. And I'm just saying, okay, dialog interface, and which are the parameters that are passed in. And then you have a toast in our case. So that's the code that will be executed. And this is also the code that will be executed, which I just say dismiss the whole dialog interface. And then finally, we have this negative button, which is the no button. So what should happen when somebody presses no? And there I have the same structure, but you can, of course, write your own code here. Then finally, we need to create this alert dialog, which is of type alert dialog, and we use the builder that we have set up here. So we called this thing builder. We could have called it otherwise, right? But we just called it builder, and then we just say create. Okay, so basically what we're doing is we are creating the variable, which is in this case an object of the builder, and then we set up everything for this builder. And once we're done setting up the whole builder, we create it as an alert dialog. And then we can use this alert dialog to set as cancelable false. So will not show, allow user to cancel after clicking on remaining screen area. So let's test what that means. Let's see. When I click here, surrounding this alert area or this alert box here, alert dialog, it doesn't disappear. So that is what we have set up with set cancelable false. So let me set that to true and run the code again. All right, so there we are, alert dialog, and then I click somewhere else. You can see now we can just ignore the alert. So that's set cancelable, and I'm gonna set that to false again. And then finally, of course, you have to show the dialog. So we prepared the alert dialog, which is actually using our builder to create it, and then we show it here in this line. All right, so these are the alert dialogs and the snack bar. So let's look at the next one, which is going to be our custom dialog function in the next video. See you there. All right, now let's look at the custom dialog function that we have here. So let's go all the way back up here where we're actually calling it. So here in the onCreate method, I have this button custom dialog, which calls the custom dialog function. All right, now what is a custom dialog? Well, it's this dialog that I have here. Why is it custom? Well, that's because I created this dialog myself. So the whole UI of it, how it's looking. So the text here, the text there, the buttons, and so forth. So I can create my very own dialog as I want. It can look as crazy as I want and as good as I want. And then I am creating a dialog again, and I'm calling this one custom dialog. And then I set the content view, and you probably know set content view already. We've used that in our onCreate every single time when we set the layout to be the activity main. So onCreate, we have set content view, which just sets the activity main, which is our XML file, this one here, this design, as the UI for our main activity. Now we do the same thing for our custom dialog. We say, okay, for the custom dialog, I want to set the content view to be this dialog custom. Now this dialog custom is, as I said, something that I created myself, which I have here. So it's this UI or this XML file that I have here. So I have a text view, which is the custom dialog, which is this text here, this text view. This very first one, and let me drag it up a little bit here so it's a little more visible. Okay, so I have this text view which wraps the content and has a text here, custom dialog title. I set the color to black and I set the text size here. Then I have another text view, which is this gray text. So what I do is I have a slightly less big text, so 14, and I have text color here to set dark gray, and a little text, a little margin to have some space in between those two, and that's pretty much it. And then I have a linear layout because I want to put those two buttons, so to speak, next to each other. So they look like buttons and they act like buttons, but they are actually text views. At least that's how we did it here. But you can of course use buttons here as well. But here the text views, they have a property called foreground. So what you can do is you can set this foreground to be selectable item background. So it will create this gray borders here. Let me make it a little bigger so you can see it better. So once you hover over it, you can see it has those gray borders. So it appears like a selectable or clickable button, or at least a selectable item. And then the text color is set to red, gravity is set to center, and the layout weight is set to 1. So this means that I want the two buttons to be the same because I set the layout weight to 1 for both of them. Because they're both in a linear layout, they are oriented horizontally, so next to each other, and they have the same width. At least that's what I'm defining with the layout weight, because I set the layout width to be 0 density pixels. So they usually would have no density pixels at all, but because I'm setting the layout weight to 1, now they just take the space that is available within their container, which is this linear layout. Okay, so the linear layout takes the whole width, match parent. Of course, we have some padding around here, which is defined in our linear layout at the highest level. So it's this padding here, this 10 density pixels. But overall, we have the full overview here. All right, so then let's look at the text. It's submit, very basic. And then we have the same thing for the cancel button. Okay, very same functionality. Only difference is that the text is different and the color is different. All right, and of course the ID. I mean, we need to have an ID in order to know which of the text views was clicked or was touched. All right, coming back to the code. Now we know how to set the dialog, right? Now custom dialog TV submit set on click listener. So in the custom dialog, we have a text view called submit. Let's look at it. That's this text view here. So what should happen once we click on it? Well, That's what we define in the set on click listener, as we have done before in the main activities on create function. Okay, so here I'm just using a toast to write some text, click submit, and I am dismissing the custom dialog so that it disappears once a user clicks on something. And then the same thing goes for our TV cancel. So we also have a set on click listener. So one thing you might wonder is, why are we using application context and not this here? Well, as it seems, this also works. So you can also use this here. But sometimes application context is required because you are within a closure, and then it's safer to use the application context, which will be the context of this activity, our main activity. Okay, but understanding closures and what I just said is not something that you need to do at this point of the course, so no worries about that. So just use this or application context. If this doesn't work, then use application context in this situation. All right. So, and then of course you need to show this custom dialog at one point. All right. And that's how we can create this custom dialog. Submit and cancel. All right. So I'd say we're going to look at the custom progress dialog in the next video. So see you there. All right, so let's get to the final dialog that I wanted to look at in this section, and that's the custom progress dialog function. And that is the function that I'm using in order to create this custom progress dialog, which is this progress here, and it's a custom one. So there was one back in the day that you could automatically use in Android, but now there's, well, it's deprecated, so you need to have a little workaround here, and that's what we're doing. So I'm going to show you how to create this thing, because we are going to need it for our application when we have a background process which needs to run, and we don't want the user to do anything while that happens. So in this case, it's a very short one because we can anytime cancel it. But let's get a look at how we can build this thing. So first of all, I have this little function, and it's called, once I click on this button here, which is this button custom progress dialog. So once we click on it, I call this function custom progress dialog function. And you could of course call this one custom progress dialog view or appearance or something like that. But basically what it does is it creates a dialog. All right. And I call this one custom progress dialog. But here I set the content view to be our layout dialog custom progress. So what is this dialog custom progress? Well, it's another layout file, and it's another one that I created myself. So you can create this as you like. It has to, of course, fit in the screen, but other than that, you can create whatever you want. What of course makes sense is to have a progress bar. So maybe you want to have a progress bar which the user needs to see in order to see how far the progress is. I mean, how far the download, for example, has done, or how far the upload is, and how far the user is with whatever process he wants to finish. And then you can use a progress bar. And the progress bars are a pretty cool feature. They have a bunch of cool properties here that you can assign and use. But if you want to know more about progress bars, then I would really recommend to check out the progress bar documentation. For example, if you want to set the progress directly, you can set it here to 25%, for example, and so forth. So you have a bunch of options that you can play around with. As you can see, it's a very long class once again. So a bunch of different attributes that you can look at and so forth. All right. Okay, so let's get back to the code. There we have the progress bar, which is this little icon here. Let me make it a little bigger so you can see it. This icon that will constantly move around because we're not controlling it otherwise, and we just want it to move like that. And then we have this text view which just says please wait. Okay, and this text view is in black, it's 16 SP, but what's interesting here is that it's within a linear layout where I have the gravity set to center, so the two are next to each other because the orientation is set to horizontal. So that's why the two are just perfectly next to each other. And the progress bar has a margin end, which means a margin towards the right, which gives it some space to this please wait text. Okay, so that's basically the XML file. And as I said, you can customize it as you like. And then the only thing we do is we say custom progress dialog.show. So we're just showing that dialog. And dialogs, they have, of course, some other options as we saw before. So you can adjust it as you please. But in our case, when we click on it, it just appears in the middle and then I can click it away. But you can of course force it not to get away or go away once we click on it. But most of the times you will use that for something super short because you don't want to freeze the UI for a long period of time. That should be something that can happen within half a second or second. So it's best if the user can't even read whatever the text here is. So that's how short these dialogues should be, these progress dialogues. In the context of dialogues, I can highly recommend to check out the documentation here and especially guides, because you can see there are a bunch of guides here and one of them is for dialogues. So if you want to know more about how to create a custom dialogue, this is the place to go, because here you have a bunch of code examples, a bunch of layout examples, which I really like. And yeah, you have the Kotlin code here directly, so you can copy it and use it for yourself. You can see how you can positive, negative, and neutral buttons, and you can have lists and so forth. So a bunch of options, pretty cool stuff. You can design it as you like. And here is the documentation that can really help you out. And of course, it's not the only thing that you can find here, not only dialogues, but you can find guides here on a lot of different topics. Some are better than others. And yeah, I would definitely recommend to check out the documentation every now and then in order to get a better understanding of what is going on. Something that I really like is, for example, drag and drop, because drag and drop is a cool feature in apps and it feels good. So you could of course check out the documentation on that, even though we're not using drag and drop in our applications yet. But that's not to hold you back, because it's really your own experience. You should make this course your very own experience, and part of it is to learn stuff around the course and not just the course stuff itself, because course content itself is great and I really put a lot of effort into creating a great course. But of course I cannot cover everything, and that's not even necessary, because there are a bunch of guides which are amazing here in the documentation. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please leave a like and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because you're going to see a bunch more of those great videos on this channel. Also, while you're at it, you can of course click that notification bell so that you really get notified when the good stuff comes up. And then don't forget to check out my complete Android masterclass. You can find the link in the description. This course will really make you a complete Android developer. So definitely check it out if you want to become a real Android developer in the shortest period of time. And then check out one of those 2 videos that you can find here.